Hello, you guys. Welcome back to Lily Reads. We are starting another reading vlog. There is no real theme to this reading vlog except for the very simple fact that all of these books have the exact same cover. So in fiction, there is trends, and the trends you see often are on the covers. For example, we have been in the exhausted woman on the cover of a book trend for a very, very long time, where if you are reading usually a literary fiction book, it's about a woman who is just, going through life. There is going to be a woman who is just exhausted, laid out, tired on the cover of the book. It is just a thing. Well, a trend that happened and we're kind of still in is the oil painting trend. I'm going to put up just a couple of examples where it's clear that someone is using a oil painting to represent this idea of almost being, I would say, sometimes horror, sometimes you get exhausted, sometimes you get this more depressed almost idea from them. Anyways, they use an oil painting, and I feel like this is a way to separate your book from just regular fiction. It almost already tells you that this book is trying to be a little bit pretentious. The book is trying to already be a little bit pretentious. And so I found 3 books that on my bookshelf that 100% go with that idea. So to show you I'm not lying, these are just 3 books that have nothing to do with each other. They're not even from the same authors. Are they even from the same publishing house? No, different publishing house, all pretty much, to me, the same cover. Even look at the way that the title is on it with the neon, with this and stuff. It's doing the exact same thing. And so these books have been sitting on my bookshelf because I feel like they're the same book. I feel like they're the same book because they look the same. I am sure they are not, and we're going to find out in this video. That's the thing. How fun, right? So the first book we are going to be reading is called Ghosted by Jenny Ashworth. This cover is a guy with flowers coming out of his head. I could also do a whole idea on this right here. We're getting this a lot in horror and literary fiction too, where it's an object or a person, and then there's some objects coming out of him, growing out of him, usually flowers. This in and of itself is a whole trend that we are seeing right now. But then you have the neon, all of that. So anyways, this is called Ghosted, and it says a love story. We are going to get into that first. The next book we're going to read is Hot Stew. This is by Fiona Mosley. Fiona Mosley was a Booker Prize finalist for the book Element, which I did not read, but if I enjoy Hot Stew, I will get my hands on it. Now, this I think 100% is trying to appeal to a young audience. Oftentimes, when you get authors who have been nominated for Bookers, Pulitzers, and stuff like that, that audience seems to lean almost pretentious, seems to lean older. But I think having the oil painting in the back and then slapping a neon title on it shows that you want people of a younger audience to reach for this book. We'll read it and see if that's the case, that it is trying to appeal to a younger audience, but this is 100% intentional. A girly pop is supposed to go into the bookstore and see this and be like, ooh, it's for those types of girls. The girls that read literary fiction, but also might dip and dabble on a little bit of Kindle Unlimited. That is what this is for. Anyways, last one we have is Woman Eating. We have seen this woman oil painting, fruit, all of this. This is 100% a trend of horror in the past 3 years. And so Women Eating does not surprise me that it looks like it is by Claire Cotta. This is 100% women's horror type. This is exactly what you expect. We see this in vampire books. I don't know if this is a vampire book, but you see this in vampire books like this, right on trend. So that's what we're going to be reading. We are going to start with Ghosted, and let's get on into the vlog. Hello, you guys. So in the intro of the video, I was talking about literary trends and how most books follow some type of trend. It is very rare to get a cover of a book and that cover can't be categorized into some type of genre of cover. Like, basically that cover belongs to a group of a bunch of covers that look just like it, because it's a marketing thing. If you like this book, if a certain book was popular, they are going to make covers that look exactly like that book, so people who enjoy that book will be like, oh, I like that book, I should get this one too. It's just about marketing. I don't think anything necessarily bad is afoot. It's unoriginal, but like, it's just marketing. So I went to my bookshelf and I found books that fall into a group of ranges of book covers. The first one, and I think the one people talk about the most, is the Black literary fiction type cover. If you are a Black person writing serious literature, especially a Black woman, they are going to make you put an ugly, colorful collage on the cover. That collage really has nothing to do with anything going on inside of the book. That is just what they're going to do. And I was able, on my bookshelf, this is my personal library, I was able to find this many books that fit that. Let's go through them. The Sex Lives of African Women and Somebody's Daughter by Ashley C. Ford. This is the same shit. Then you have The Death of Avik Ojik by Akwaeke Emeze. They fit right into this collage. It's the same exact thing. It's the same exact thing. Then you have Black Girls Die Exhausted, also can fit into the ugly collage. Then you have Wahala by Nikki May, can also fit into the ugly collage. Such a Fun Age fits into the ugly collage. The Vanishing Half fits into the ugly collage. Like, I can keep going, and I will. Memphis fits into the ugly collage. Black Cake fits into the ugly collage. Mame fits into the ugly collage. This is just from my own personal library, and all of these books fit into the ugly Black fiction collage. They're all ugly, and they all are serious Black literature, and that is the cover you are going to get. I do think we are moving out of this era. Thankfully, I think we're moving a little bit out of this era, but we will see. And I like most of those books. I love me a serious Black literary fiction book. I only haven't read 2 of these. I haven't read Black Girls Die Exhausted, and I haven't read The Sex Lives of African Women. I should get on those 2. Let me actually sit these to the side, because I should probably read these books relatively soon. I don't want to take them into next year. And so, but Black people aren't the only people who get trumped into this, because remember I was talking about white woman exhausted trend. Baby, I went to my bookshelf, and this was just real quick, and I found 6 books that fit here. Now, one of them isn't a white woman, but I found 6 books that fit with that. Worry, white woman exhausted. Margot's Got Money Troubles, white woman exhausted. Diket, white woman exhausted. All's Well, white woman exhausted. Sorrow and Bliss, white woman exhausted. Then you have Natural Beauty, which isn't a white woman, it's an Asian woman on the cover, but exhausted. And this is just what I own. I really don't pick up that genre, but there's so many. I literally probably just type into Google white woman tired on cover, and you are just going to get flooded. If you're not going to get that, you're going to get white woman with a cigarette in her hand on cover. Think post-traumatic, that book. You're just going to get white Trespasses. You're going to get white woman cigarette after a long day. All of those fall into white woman on the cover who has had a long ass day. That is a trend right there I just showed you. Now the next one, which is what we're talking about now, is the oil painting trend, where like clearly they just took an oil painting, slapped it on here, and boom. So we talked about woman eating. We talked about hot stew. We talked about ghosted. Trespasses also falls into this. Trespasses could fit perfectly along with the oil painting trend. House of Hunger fits right along in the oil painting trend. My Year of Rest and Relaxation goes in oil painting trend, and it goes in woman exhausted trend. The next one, Cleopatra and Frankenstein, goes in clearly white woman exhausted and just bruised up and oil painting trend. And then the Rachel incident, has oil painting trend. Also, white woman, what's going on the cover. And those are the trends. Those are the trends. But the thing is, I could do this with almost every single book on my bookshelf. That's the fun thing about having a personal library. I could literally take every single book off my bookshelf and categorize them on what they belong, what's the same about them with other book covers, because that's just marketing. If you buy, popular fiction, you are going to see books that have almost damn near the same cover, or they're trying to elicit the same feeling. And the thing is, like, a lot of people just want to pick up books like other books that they enjoyed, and so it's easy to just be like, slap this cover on it. And when you're the author, I don't blame the author either. You want as many people as possible to buy your book, so you thinking to yourself, the most popular book in the black fiction with the collage is The Vanishing Half. So if you know how many copies The Vanishing Half has sold, if you Memphis, why would you not just use the exact same cover? Why wouldn't you? Because it's just like, oh, people who read The Vanishing Half might pick up Memphis. And the thing is, the fact that I own all of these books, most of the time it works. Most of the time it works. Like, if I didn't own these books, you could be like, and it's not even working. But the fact that all of these books are talked about, it works. Now, you do get some books that I think kind of break trend. I think some books actually do break the trend. Think Yellowface, the book Yellowface. You don't really get covers like this, and I actually think that was a huge part of the popularity of this book, because the covers usually don't look like this. So you do get every now and then people will break this mold of the cover. Right now, there's this thing of putting like Victorian type of imaging onto books. Think The Maidens, think The Tower, think Hamlet, think there's another book that's coming out with the she has a white veil on. That's kind of becoming is it Lady Macbeth? That book, that's kind of becoming a thing. Books like that, putting like old pictures, old Victorian, old-timey type of pictures onto things. That's becoming a thing a lot of people are enjoying seeing. So you start to get new, in romance, you're starting to get these like vibrant ass covers. Think Funny Story, think Emily Henry Happy Place. I think that really kind of broke the mold. Like, you're getting these really like neon loud types of covers. We already know what happened when one person put a cartoonerized photo on a romance book, how that went. But yeah, trends come and they go. I don't think it's anything to take that seriously. It's just marketing. It's just marketing stuff. That's just being like, oh, every article of clothing at clothing stores look the same, because that's what y'all be buying. Like, they just doing what will sell the books. Anyways, I just wanted to show you that to like get into the idea of like what I'm doing with why I chose these 3 specific books, because they seem like they're the same exact book. Anyways, I'll talk to you guys later. Hello, you guys. We are back for our first reading clip of this video, and I am here to discuss Ghosted by Jenny Ashworth. First, we have to discuss the cover, since what all of these books have in common is that they're just like these oil painting type of covers, very mysterious. You don't know really what's going to happen. This one, I think, is intentionally trying to draw in a specific crowd. You have the flowers, you have the man, it being called Ghosted. This is really trying to hit an early Gen X, late millennial type of crowd. You can tell, like, I know exactly who this is trying to market to. It's trying to market to like the literary fiction girlies who like aren't deep into literary fiction. They're not going to read maybe like the Booker Prize winners or the books on the National Book Award, but they're going to read, like, I would say, for lack of a better word, the girly pop lit fic more so, which is just about women who are tortured, women who, are out for revenge, women who are depressed, women just trying to take on the world in all their strange ways. That's what this book is trying to appeal to me from this cover. We're thinking My Year of Rest and Relaxation. relaxation girlies, luster girlies. I haven't talked about luster in a minute. We're thinking that type of reader, Otessa Moshfegh type of readers is what this is giving cover wise. And so I picked it up because even though I do not like Otessa Moshfegh's books, have not liked an Otessa Moshfegh book, and that's what this gave me, I do not think I am incapable of enjoying that type of fiction. These stories about these tortured women, these stories about these women who clearly are mentally unwell, they're not grappling with reality in a healthy way. I think I'm capable of enjoying those stories. I just think the way it's usually presented to me, I find to be a little pedestrian, and I find to be a little self-indulgent. And I think skill, technicality, and storytelling, and plot, and characterization is thrown to the wayside in order for vibes to be there. And I just can't get down with that. I'm sorry. But this book, the point of this is called Ghosted, a Love Story. I am going to take a wild guess that I'm not actually supposed to take a love story seriously. In this book, we are following a main character by the name of Lori. Lori is in the UK, and her husband is missing. She has been married for about 12 years, and her husband is missing. But the issue is that Lori waited 5 whole weeks to report her husband missing. But she insists that she does not know where her husband is. The reason why she took so long to report that her husband was missing was because she thought he was like mad at her. So they got into a little bit of an argument over some curtains. And she thought like he was trying to be like, you know what, you mad at me, so I'm going to be mad at you. Because she was mad about the curtains. And so he was just trying to, get her riled up by making her think he's missing. So she's like, I'm not going to play in to any of his antics, and I'm just not going to report him missing because I know he's going to come back. And that's pretty much what starts our story. So in this book is direct to reader. We are being told a story, and we are being told a story in my favorite way, where a main character or a character, it doesn't even have to be a character in the book, but in this case, it is the main character. She's telling the story in like retrospect. She's going back in time. She's giving us different, like the timeline is out of order. She's giving us her own thoughts in the future of how things are going to turn. I love it. I just love it. Adds a level of suspense. It adds a layer of drama that I just simply eat up, and I'm eating it up here too. Now, the thing I don't really, it's not that I don't enjoy it, because I haven't not enjoyed it in this current moment, but the thing that I'm a little, weary about is this character is clearly like mentally unstable. There's something mentally not right. She's 100% an unreliable narrator, and that's a common narrative device that a lot of these types of books like to use. And this is where I go off on my self-indulgent, over-important, my rant that like I think in order to have vibes where a character just seems unhinged, instead of writing a story that is interesting with a character that is interesting, they just make the character be like unwell, and you're supposed to just, inherently believe that this character is interesting. But I'm just like, being mentally ill doesn't necessarily make you interesting. Like, you're gonna have to like give me an interesting character. And so that's what this character is. We're to not believe anything that she's saying. She could have killed her husband for all we know, but she hasn't said that she's done it. And this book is also doing another thing that I really, really enjoy. I love when a character tells us a story, like they full on tell us a story, but then all of a sudden they go, so you remember when I told you that story? So I left out something. I enjoy that a lot. That does not mean keeping things from the reader. You have to tell me it eventually, but I like it when it's like a few pages later, not when it's like the book is almost over and it's like, hey, I forgot to give you information. No, that's bad. Like, don't do that's bad storytelling. But I like it when like the author is trying to show you that the main character is not going to tell you the whole truth. You know, the main character, you know, picks and chooses what details to give you, because you then start to feel like, as the reader, you're part of the story. Like, why does this main character feel like it needs to like leave these things out to me? So overall, there's a lot of things going on. You have this literary fiction element. You have this story. This does say a love story. You do have this like domestication type of storyline, because we do go back in time to hear about Mark and Laurie's marriage. And then you also have this like, you know, mystery element of what is Mark doing, you know? And so there's a lot going on. All things good. All things good. At first I was a little, you know, this is one of those books that relies heavily on metaphors. You know the books. This is one of those. I'm going to be honest with you. Otessa Mashfe Core. It's one of those. But I'm enjoying this as is. So I am going to continue reading. And yeah, I got to go to the library and go pick up some books. I have some books on hold at the library. There's been some new thrillers that I have been wanting to get my hands on, but like obviously y'all know my rule. Kenya does not buy new thrillers unless like it literally like there's nothing that I can do to like get my hands on it without buying it. So I have a few on hold and my hold is gonna run out. So the library stays open late today, so I would like to make my way over there. Anyways, I will see you guys to show you guys the library books that I picked up. Okay, peace. Hello, you guys. I'm here to discuss my middle of the way thoughts about Ghosted. I'd be lying to actually say I am middle of the way through this book. I'm almost done with this book. I have 50 pages left of this book, and I went back and forth on if I should update you guys or just leave it alone. But I think I should update you, because this book has completely this book has completely like gone with the idea like don't judge a book by its cover. I thought this cover was a little gimmicky. The title is Ghosted. It just feels very hip millennial, you know, hip millennial-ish, a TikTok millennial. That's kind of what it felt like hip literary fiction. But actually, this book is a lot more sentimental than I thought it was going to be. I get why it says Ghosted, a love story, because at the root of this book is a book about a marriage and a marriage crumbling and two people growing apart from each other because they refuse to communicate with one another. That's what this book is really about. And I think when the book really leans into that idea, when we really start to dissect this marriage and dissect these two flawed individuals in this marriage and how they treat the world around them, that's when this book is really, really strong. But I will say there are times where this book goes on tangents to kind of show you that our main character is not mentally well, whether our main character deals with depression or something else. And I often find that to be a little heavy-handed. I don't think there's the finesse needed to really, you know, nail that home. The finesse that is needed to nail that home is not there. And so I do think that's when this story does become weaker. But this book does in some ways remind me of Sorrow and Bliss, except Sorrow and Bliss is better. Sorrow and Bliss is one of my favorite books of all time. I absolutely adore it. And that's not this, but you guys know I just love a marriage story. And when this book is about their marriage, I find it interesting. Also, when the plot progresses, there's, of course, this literary fiction. So you're not going to get a lot of plot. You're going to just be in a main character's head or in a main character's world. But when the plot does progress, it is quite interesting. And I do find the characters around our main character to be interesting. I think the author is attempting to give us one of those main characters, one of those brooding female main characters, you know, dealing with depression, dealing with mental illness, treating everyone around them bad, giving us one of those. And I just think that type of character has just been done so many times. There's just no nuance to add to that type of character. And so it starts to become exhausting. And so all the ways that I think you're supposed to find this main character like quirky and damaged, I find to be quite silly. And it takes away from the part of the book that is good, that is strong, which is the complexity of these people's lives. And even though they live such a mundane life, there's so much going on, whether it be the stuff with her dad, whether it be the stuff with her dad's aide, whether it be with her mother. There's interesting stuff. You guys know I love mother-daughter dynamics in books. There's interesting stuff to unpack there. There's interesting stuff here. And I think oftentimes this author spends time on stuff that isn't interesting, because that's just what a book that looks like this is supposed to be about, you know. Very Otessa Moshfegh, very Sally Rooney, very that. And that's when I honestly find it to be like all of those books, not all that interesting, not all that compelling. But I wanted to come and say that I actually am enjoying this book. I am enjoying this book, and everything I thought this book was going to be about, it's actually not about that, but I kind of think I mean that in the best way. So anyways, I have 50 more pages left. I'm going to finish those 50 pages, and I'm going to reward myself with some crumble cookie. I bought some crumble cookie minis because they have 2 flavors this week that like I just need. They're so good. And so I'm going to eat them. And yeah, but I got to read these 50 pages for it. It's my reward for finishing this book tonight. So yeah, I'll talk to you guys when I finish. Peace. Hello, you guys. I have finished Ghosted. I think I'm going to go ahead and give this book 3.75 stars. You want to know the most shocking thing about this book? How normal this book is. Like, I feel like going into this, you could think this book would have like speculative elements, some horror elements going on. It doesn't. Like, yes, there are some things, like it does get ghosty a little bit maybe at times, but altogether, this book is pretty straightforward, and what you're reading is what you're reading. And I think I appreciate it for that. I like this book a lot more than I thought I would. I do think our main character, Lori, is a little weak. I think we could have really gotten into her character, and that goes back to what I said in the last clip about how I think the author was trying to, you know, make her one of those characters, you know what I'm talking about, and it took away from what she actually really could be, because this main character is in her late 30s, but she reads like a 27, late 20-year-old, like she reads like one of the like maybe early Gen Zers, late millennials that we read about in a lot of these stories. She reads very young, but she's actually almost a 40-year-old woman. And that's why I say this book is more in line with Sorrow and Bliss. In that aspect, she's been married for 12 years. Like, and it doesn't read that way. She reads almost childlike, and I think it takes away from the effect of the story. But altogether, this was an enjoyable one for me. 3.75 stars. I actually would recommend you pick it up if you've been interested in it. Now to my crumble. I don't know if I want to eat something before I eat these cookies, but let me show you them. I only got 2 flavors, and I got them in the mini. I got 6 of them. I want to eat this Kentucky butter cookie so bad. And yes, unpopular opinion. I don't know if this is unpopular, but I like this sugar cookie, like this cookie. Oh, it's so sweet and so good. I love it. I don't know what to tell you. I'm also one of those people who like those sugar cookies with a bunch of icing on them, the colorful ice. I like those too. I can't wait. I didn't even fuck around with the other flavors they got for the week. I just wanted 6 of these. But yeah, I'm about to go to bed though. I'm going to eat some cookies, maybe eat something else before it. I'm trying to see if I want to like have something else, like some chips or something. But I'm going to eat these. And then tomorrow we are going to get into Hot Stew. That's the next book we're reading next. Peace. Hello, you guys. I am here to talk to you guys about Hot Stew. I'm kind of coming to talk to you guys about this book a little bit early. I'm not even halfway done with the book, but I fear we might not make it to the finish line of this book. So I'm going to tell you what this book claims to be about. And then I'm going to tell you what's actually going on in this book for a reader, someone consuming it. So in this book, we are in London, I believe specifically Soho, and we are following basically this building that has all types of people that live in it. And there is a woman named Agatha. Everything in this book revolves basically around this woman named Agatha who is going to buy the building. But in order to buy the building and like turn the building into what she wants to turn the building into, she has to evict everyone. So she sent letters of rent increases to everyone in the building in order to get all these people evicted or to leave. And so because of that, that's our central thing that's going on. We are following all the people who live in this building and who like frequent this building, and we're also following a couple people who are a part of Agatha's world. And that's pretty much what the book is. Basically, this is like a London Brewster Place. Think Brewster Place by Gloria Naylor, where you're just like following a building, following people who live in the same exact place and how all of their lives intertwine. That's what this book is like marketed as. That's why I bought this book, because like that seems interesting, right? Having this evil landlord want to kick everyone out and then getting into the lives of all of these people. The problem is this book is boring. Okay, let's get on the characters, because that's what this book like is shopping as. Like, get to know all of these characters who are a part of this world. The problem is that they all sound exactly the same. Nothing really makes them all that different. When you go into each chapter of the people, their lives aren't all that different. Like you, and the thing is, on paper they are. You have people who are prostitutes, you have pub owners, you have a homeless guy. Like you have things that make them different. But when you're reading their chapters, it all blends together and they all sound exactly the same and they all seem to be dealing with the same stuff. And so it's just severely uninteresting. And then this book goes off on tangents sometimes that are not that interesting. The writing isn't really gelling with my spirit, and it doesn't actually feel like a book. It doesn't feel like the story this is shopped as is actually being told. It just feels like I'm just getting chapter of chapter, and all of these chapters don't feel like they come together or really connect in any real way. And I oftentimes have to find myself going back to see what even is going on. Like I'm reading chapters twice because I'm just like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, what is going on here? And the reason why I don't know if we're gonna make it to the end of this book is because like I know exactly what I'm supposed to get from this book. This book is gonna be a class conscious book about, the perils of capitalism and how, life is just one big melting pot and one decision affects other decisions. And there are people in this world who we just scatter and toss to the side for capitalistic gain. I know the message of what this book is going to be. So therefore, you're going to have to be interesting for me to continue reading you. And that is not what this book is. So friends, I am not sure we are going to make it to the end of this one. I'm officially going to put us on DNF alert. We are on DNF alert because this is boring. This is like it's insanely boring and it's just hard to follow. And I'm just like, somebody else should write. I would say somebody else should write this book, but Brewster Place by Gloria Naylor has already been written and done it how it should have been done. I don't know about this one, friends. I don't know. I think I'm going to go read some reviews on Goodreads to see is it even worth continuing? Because I don't like to give up on books. But this one, I'm not exactly sure. But I'll talk to you guys later. I read 2 more chapters, so we followed 2 more people in this book, and I read some Goodreads reviews of this book, and this is sitting at a 3.5, and that's not to say that it couldn't get better. I usually don't agree with the Goodreads reviews of most books, but this to me just was uninteresting. The backdrop being in London and being in Soho, that wasn't any interesting. I'm assuming Soho is undergoing the same gentrification that every major city is going through. So it's just that's not interesting. The characters were not interesting, and we spend such a short time with each character. So it almost felt like a chore to read from certain characters when their POV started off boring, because it's just this really won't matter in the end, to me personally, none of the characters spoke in any different way. Yes, the characters were all doing different stuff. Like there were homeless people, there were thieves, there were people doing different stuff. There were prostitutes, but it didn't, like, they didn't talk any differently, if that makes any sense. So it was hard to really like feel like compelled by any of them. And I just thought that this book didn't have anything really interesting to say. So I am going to remove my bookmark and I'm going to call it for this one. This is 100% going to be a DNF. I did not expect us to have a DNF in this video. I definitely didn't expect Hot Stew to be a DNF because this author was shortlisted for the Booker. So, but the thing is, I don't usually like a lot of Booker Prize winning books, so maybe that shouldn't have been so shocking to me. But yeah, I'm officially done with this one. And we're going to move on to Woman Eating. The thing is, Woman Eating is really, really short. I could really finish this book today. This book doesn't even cross 250 pages. So I'm like, should I add another book to this video? I don't own any more of like these types of covers. So like the point of the video is kind of null and void. And I'm like looking at my bookshelf to see if there's something I could like pull that would kind of be interesting. I guess if I really, really wanted to, I could do The Year of the Witching, which really isn't like any of these books, but you do kind of get this like portrait, this like realistic portrait, not oil painting, but maybe I could add this book in and that would kind of, you know, that could be something. I don't know. We'll see. But we're definitely going to move on to Woman Eating. And then I'll see if I can add in The Year of the Witching and if that would be interesting because that's all I can think about. But Hot Stew, not for me. Hello, you guys. I am here to come discuss Women Eating by Claire Cotta. So in this book, we are reading a vampire book, and we are following this half British, half Japanese woman, and she has just put her mother in like a home, like a care facility, and she is going to be living on her own for the first time. And it's difficult because she's never done it before and she's a vampire. So as a vampire, she has to like, you know, drink blood, but she's having a hard time getting her hands on blood because her mother was usually the person who did the blood. Where her life is changing a little bit, our vampire woman, her life is changing a little bit because, like I said, she put her mother in a home and she is trying to get her art career going. She is buying a studio, well, leasing a studio from this place, and basically she has an internship at this art gallery. And, you know, she's just trying to get her footing and trying to see what her life is going to be like as a newly independent vampire. That's really what this is about. There's really nothing else. I am literally, I have 100 pages left of this book. I'm almost done. That's literally all this book is. You're just following this woman as, you know, she visits her mother, she tries to look for blood to drink, she tells you about her past, and she works at this art gallery, and she also socializes with the other people who have studios in this studio place that she rents out. How do I feel about this book? I am not someone who can really... I need characters to be interesting. I love literary fiction. So I was about to lie and say that I can't enjoy books that don't have plots, but that's simply not true because I deeply love literary fiction. But if you're not going to have a plot, what I love about literary fiction is like characters in peculiar situations, right? I am not saying this book is literary fiction. This book probably leans horror. I guess it would probably be considered horror, maybe. I don't know. But you're going to have to give me good character if there's really no plot for me to follow. I don't know if our main character in this book is actually that interesting. Like, when she gives us information on her past, I don't know if it's just the writing, the way that we're given the information. We're given the information like randomly. Our main character will just tell us some stuff about herself, some stuff about her past. Like we found out how she became a vampire. We found out that her dad is a famous artist. We found out about her mom. We're finding out information, but it's sandwiched in between like whatever is going on in her life. And it doesn't, to me, add anything to the character. Like I don't really feel any real, like I know this character, like I'm invested in this character. So when we're following her around doing absolutely nothing, it's hard for me to care. It's hard for me to care what she's doing, and I'm just kind of like, okay, when is something interesting gonna happen? When is something interesting gonna happen? So I will say that I don't think the characterization that is that strong. I also don't think the world around this character is that strong. That's another thing. If you're gonna give me our character just walking around and just doing random stuff, I do think the world also needs to be interesting. The characters around this character are also not that interesting, not that compelling. They almost feel like stock characters. Even her mother gives like typical strict Asian parent. Like you get that archetype a lot in books written by Asian people. Like they give you a strict mother who, like felt her ways were best and you just did what she did. And did she do things in her best interest or for your best interest? You get that a lot in literature written by Asian women. And so like that's once again right here present. But is it interesting? Is it inherently interesting, or is it more of the same, And so I kind of feel like the characters around this character are also just kind of like, here you go. Here's the studio guy. Here's the weird guy at the gallery. Here's the overbearing boss. Here's, like everything just feels expected. That's the perfect word. Everything feels expected. Like when we find out things about the mother, that feels expected. When we find out things about the dad, like that also feels expected. Everything just feels expected. But on the other hand, for this to be a vampire story, usually when I read vampire stories, and I think usually in vampire stories, you either get the journey into someone becoming a vampire or you get to meet a person after they've been a vampire for a really long time. They know the ways and all of that, and then something happens to them. I'm enjoying reading a vampire story that's like exploration, a coming of age almost vampire story. This idea of like being out on your own and learning in the moment of what to do. And this book, where I am going to give the writing some credit, this book, you feel it, like this character is like, it's called Woman Eating, and like every time our character is hungry and wants blood, you feel it as well. Like you start being like, girl, just go bite somebody's neck. And that's a good experience, That's a testament to good writing, that you almost feel like you're getting in the character's head and want to make decisions for them. So I am going to give it to that there. I just want more. I want this book to be more. And with only 100 pages left, this is damn near a novella. And I don't want to get to the point where I'm waiting for something like a plot twist or something, because like that's no way to read a book. But as is, it's just like, meh. I'm just meh on it. So anyways, I'm going to finish it and then I'm going to come with my final thoughts. Peace. Hello, you guys. I have a final update to give you. And we got to discuss something. So number one, I finished Woman Eating. I'm going to go ahead and give this book 3 stars. This book just really wasn't for me. I can enjoy a vampire book, but like it's going to have to be very like plot driven. And that's not what this was. But I did appreciate reading a vampire story that was almost this coming of age story, this exploration of like who you're going to be into your adulthood. I thought that was really good. Another thing I thought was really good about this book was like the suspense, the writing created this air of mystery that was really, really fun to read. Like, I was always looking over my shoulder to see what was going to happen next. I enjoyed that. This book got a little hoary at the end, a little revengey, which I expected. So I'm kind of taking points away from that because I expected that angle. But it was overall simply just fine. Like I said, the characters just were not enough for me to sink my teeth into. If you're going to give me this like 250-page book where we just walking around all goddamn day, the characters are really going to have to be compelling. The dialogue is going to have to be biting. The commentary is going to have to be sharp. And I don't think that's what this book is. So 3 out of 5 stars. Didn't hate it. Speaking of hate, I'm going back in for a little bit more. I am going back in for a little bit more. This is my problem. I told you guys I have a problem with DNFing books. And I do. It's just so hard for me to DNF a book because I remember when I purchased it, or I remember why I picked it up. The synopsis is compelling. The synopsis of this book is so compelling. An evil landlord trying to kick everybody out of a building, and us meeting the people inside this building and surrounding this building. I want to know what's going to happen, but it's just the book we're getting is so boring. But I'm going to try again. I am going to try again. So this is Hot Stew Part 2, okay? We're going to try this book again. So yeah, blog not over just yet because I'm just like, I can read it. And I just think I went on Goodreads. I think this is it. I went on Goodreads and I read some reviews, and the Goodreads reviews are bad. But even the bad ones, there was something compelling about it. Like some of the stuff people were saying in the reviews, I was like, that kind of seems up my alley. So anyways, I went to the library. I have my Falling in Love with Every Book tote. You can go get yours down at the link below. And I picked up some library books. You guys know I like to pick up thrillers from the library. That is just my thing. If I'm going to read a thriller, it's coming from the library. And if I like the thriller, I'll buy it, but that's rare. So, first book I bought is a book I've been wanting to read so bad. Daughter of Mine by Megan Miranda. I have not read any of Megan Miranda's newer releases. The last Megan Miranda book I read was The Last to Vanish, which I personally enjoyed. I know a lot of people didn't. And so I've been wanting to get my hands on the newer Megan Mirandas, and I finally get to read Daughter of Mine. I'm going to try to read these books like next week, honestly. Next, Night Watching. This is a book that, like, a type of book that I usually do not enjoy. I usually don't enjoy this type of book, but something about this has kind of like interest me, but I know I didn't want to buy it on my own. So I saw it at the library when I was picking up the books I had on hold, and I was like, oh yeah, we're going to read Night Watching at some point. Next one. Mary Kubica. Mary Kubica has made one book that I like, Local Woman Missing, which is on the front of this book. And for some reason, I believe I'm going to like more Mary Kubica, and I never do. She's Not Sorry is a Mary Kubica book, and I did not like the last Mary Kubica book I read. Let's see if I like this one. I don't know. We'll find out, though. And then I went back and forth. Am I going to read it? Am I not? Am I going to read it? Am I not? One Perfect Couple by Ruth Ware. Why not? Well, I'm not going to like this book. I do not like books where a bunch of people go to like an abandoned island, and an exotic island, a wedding, a bunch of people from different walks of life coming together, somebody dies, is my least favorite thriller setup. I never like them. I find them boring, repetitive, silly. I never enjoy them. So this is not a book I should read. I'm not going to like this book. I am probably not going to like this book. And yet I'm here. And then I saw this random romance book called A Run at Love. Have not heard a single soul talk about this book ever. Never even seen this book before. But I read the synopsis and it was kind of interesting. So I got my hands on that. And that's just kind of the library books. If you know me, I like to keep some library books just in the house. Just things I just want to read. But, it's just fun. I don't plan on buying any more books for the rest of the year until like there's a big sale at some of the places I buy books at. So I actually have no intentions of purchasing any books. So that's even more reason why I got to go to the library and see what the library has. But there have been some interesting thrillers that have come out this year or even late last year. But like, I feel like none of them are getting like amazing reviews, you know? At first, I was hearing good things about Ruth Ware, and then I started hearing bad things about Ruth Ware. I read some thrillers in a video, didn't love them, so I don't know. But anyways, I'm going to give Hot Stew another chance, and then we're going to wrap up this video. Hopefully, when you see me again, I say, I finished this, but we're going to find out. Peace. Hello, you guys. I am here to end the video, but I have some news for you guys. I finished Hot Stew. I read all of Hot Stew, I finished Hot Stew, and this is my thoughts on Hot Stew. Hot Stew is not a book that I think you can just read one time and love. I think it's the type of book where the more you read it, the more you understand it, the more you see the like reasons why Fiona Mosley had certain characters meet certain demises, had certain characters meet certain ends, how characters interact. Like, you really have to interrogate the text to, I think, get Fiona Mosley's get the full world that Fiona Mosley was trying to convey. And here's the thing, a lot of literary fiction does that. You know, there's a story within a story. There's an idea within an idea. You get the surface level story, and then you get what's really going on, which I think Fiona Mosley did that intentionally to like show the story of this city being overcome by, you know, sexual exploitation, gentrification, corruption, police, all of that type of stuff, you know? There's the world, and then there's the seedy underbelly. But the thing is, when a story does that, I think that surface story has to be more interesting than what Fiona Mosley did. Like, when I started to think about this story deeply, I really started to care. And I'm like, ooh, this author is doing some interesting stuff. The problem is, the base story that you get, to me, is just not crafted well enough to keep your attention. So like, if I were to jump back into this book and read it again, because by the way, when I did this book, I restarted it. I restarted it from the beginning, starting from the first chapter. It was like, let's go. And I was able to get my bearings more because I kind of knew already the beats of what this story. So I had to throw away my expectations and jump back in with like a new mind. And so if I read it again for a third time, I probably would like it even more. But as it is, I just thought it was So as it is, I think that this author did a big swing. Some stuff was a hit, some stuff was a miss. I think the weakest part of this book is actually just how the characters are. Yes, the characters are doing interesting things on a base level, but like, I feel like there's no depth to them. Like, you have a sex worker, you have an evil landlord, you have a corrupt police officer, you have a detective that wants to, you know, wants to do the right thing. Like, you have a thief. Everyone just follows a very specific archetype. Same thing I said with woman eating, and it's just like they all meet their expected demise, you know, the sympathetic sex worker, the sympathetic drug addict, you know? And so it's just hard to like, I don't know, some stuff worked, some stuff didn't. I think this book needed a few more years to cook, no pun intended. It just needed a few more years. So yeah, overall, I'm going to give this book 3 out of 5 stars, but I am happy I finished it. And I do think I actually will return to this book in the future. Woman Eating, I brought it up. I also gave this book 3 out of 5 stars. Just not my thing fully. It was short, so it was like fine, but like, I just needed a little bit more, but I did enjoy the suspense that this book has. It always felt like we were working up to something, and I like that feeling, not knowing what was going to happen on every page. But overall, 3 out of 5 stars. And then I think my favorite book, I know, my favorite book in this video goes to Ghosted by Jen Ashworth. The more I think about this book, the more I enjoy this book, but you have to understand Kenya. There are very few marriage stories that Kenya is not going to enjoy. I love a marriage story. I love getting inside a marriage that is crumbling, and that is what's at the root of this book. I actually think the weakest part of this book is our main character when she gets in her head and she goes off on her little tangents. I find that to be very run-of-the-mill, something you can get from any other book. But when this book really starts to investigate the relationship between the husband and wife in this book, I thought it was good. The reason why a huge star is getting taken off of this book, the main character in this book is 37 years old, I believe. And like, you would think this main character is 24. I had to remind it every time this book brought up that our two characters had been married for 12 years. It didn't feel like they'd been married 12 years. I didn't feel like we got enough information that felt like this was a relationship that spanned 12 years. And it for damn sure didn't feel like our main character was in her 30s, well into her 30s. So I think that was a flaw of the writing. But overall, what can we learn here? These books all were very different. Even though these books are 100% following a very similar style with the covers, they were very different books. This one is 100% literary fiction. This is 100% horror. And this book kind of like skates in this middle. It gets horror-y at times. It gets ghosty at times, but it definitely leans literary fiction. You get romance elements. So like, they all were very, very different. Do I think you should pick these books up? If these books are already on your bookshelf, they're worth a read. I wouldn't say run out and go get any of these, except maybe Ghosted. If you come across Ghosted, or maybe it's at your library, go pick it up. Anyways, you guys are going to be very, very proud of me. I did not buy any books this week. I feel like at the end of the video, it's turned into what books did Kenya buy this week? None. I did not buy any books this week because I think I might have said earlier in the video, I don't know. I am not planning on buying books until closer to Christmas time. My birthday is coming up, so maybe my birthday, I might allow myself to indulge, but I did get a book of the month package. Now you might be saying, baby, we halfway through the month. Why do you have a book of the month package? Book of the month dropped my package off at somebody else's house in my neighborhood. And one of my neighbors had to come knock at my door and say, girl, do you order a book of the month? I said, yeah. She said, yeah, I got your stuff. Now this is an interesting one because they sent a free story for you called Volume 0. Baby, I'm going to be honest with you. I ain't reading this. This is about to go directly in the goddamn trash. This is like when YouTube put their album on everybody's iPhone. Please, I don't like unsolicited nothing. I already told you, I don't even like when people buy me books that they think I'm going to like, because like I can buy my own books. I'm weird in that way, but I for damn sure don't want nothing I never heard of ever. Like I'm kind of intrigued, but like all my books on my bookshelf intrigue me. So this, you can save it. The next thing we have is the actual book. I decided to get 5-Star Stranger by Kat Tang. I think this is a guy who you can hire him to hang out with you. He does that. He's like a pay-for-hire friend, a pay-for-hire husband, son, whatever. A lot of people have attempted this type of book. I'm curious to see if this one is going to do it well. This has been attempted before. It's a rather short one. But yeah, that is my book of the month book. I guess this is what I decided to get. I was thinking about getting the wedding people, something like that. But I kind of thought like it'll be at my library. It seems like it's probably going to be a popular book. I've heard people like it pick up buzz. And on book of the month, I either try to get a book I'm actually interested in or a book I've like never heard of before. And that was this one. So yeah, I got my hands on it. That's the end of this video. I will see you guys in the next one, which will be our end of the month video. Yeah, I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.